Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 22. Yeshu reached out and tugged at the golden chain around his ankle, making sure that the other end of the chain was completely locked shut. Jin Wang's method of preventing him from running away was really simple and crude. The dog was still that dog Jin Wang. This was the first time Yeshu had encountered such a situation. For a moment, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he sat on the bed in a daze. The golden chain was scattered between the plain white silk quilts. The end of the chain was clasped around Yeshu's ankle, making it seem even fairer and slender. For some reason, it gave off an indescribable feeling of ambiguity. This way, it seemed like it was especially easy for something bad to happen. Thinking about what had happened before, Yeshu shuddered. Suddenly, a warm body covered him from behind. "You're awake." The voice was deep and hoarse, making one's ears tingle. "Do you like the present I gave you?" Jin Wang rested his head on Yeshu's shoulder and tilted his head to look at him. There was a smile in his eyes. "I specially ordered it for you." Ever since Yeshu had escaped, he had begun to order this item. 7 days was neither too long nor too short, just enough time for the golden chain to be completed. Yeshu smiled bitterly. "Your Majesty, I won't run away again." Jin Wang smiled. "I don't believe you." Yeshu said pitifully, "Your Majesty." Jin Wang was concerned. "Are you hungry? I'll have Gao Jin bring food in." "Jin Ling Yuan." "I'm here." Yeshu sighed helplessly. "How long are you going to lock me up for?" "Until you stop thinking about leaving." Jin Wang held Yeshu's hand as he stood up. His voice was extremely gentle. "This golden chain is long enough for you to move about in the bedchamber. Be careful not to trip when you walk." Jin Wang helped Yeshu put on his shoes and put on a coat. "Let's eat first." Jin Wang went out and ordered the servants to bring food. Yeshu was so hungry that his chest was sticking to his back. He had no time to argue with Jin Wang and sat down to focus on filling his stomach. Yeshu ate happily. Jin Wang glanced at him from time to time. Finally, when Yeshu finished 6 pieces of pastries, 2 bowls of soup and 3 bowls of rice and was about to have another bowl, he couldn't help but speak up. "Didn't Duan Jinzi feed you these days?" When Jin Wang asked this question, his tone was not very pleasant. He thought that as long as Yeshu said yes, he would immediately make sure he gets 100 strikes. Yeshu ate until his cheeks were puffed up. He blinked innocently and shook his head. Jin Wang frowned. "Did he abuse you in any ways?" "No, no." Yeshu quickly straightened his back and said, "He treats me quite well, really." For the past few days, Yeshu's consciousness had been hazy. He only ate and asleep. However, that person did not treat Yeshu unfairly. He always took good care of Yeshu and even fattened him up a little. But today, in order to enter the palace, Yeshu did not have the opportunity to eat since the afternoon. Jin Wang was skeptical. While he was thinking, Yeshu quickly grabbed another piece of pastry and finished it like a whirlwind. That was the 7th piece. Jin Wang coughed softly and vaguely advised, "Ah Shu, it's not good to eat too much." Yeshu looked at the bowl in front of him and then looked at Jin Wang. He was a little unhappy. It was bad enough that he was locked up and not allowed to go out, but now he was not even allowed to eat. Even Duan Jinzi did not treat him like this. The more Yeshu thought about it, the angrier he got. He put down his chopsticks. "Humph. Jin Wang." Jin Wang face-palmed. "It's fine. Go on and eat, eat." After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yeshu lay down on the small couch and rubbed his stomach in contentment. Jin Wang concentrated on reading the memorials under the lamp. How boring. He wanted to do something. Yeshu said, "Jin Wang." Jin Wang did not raise his head. "What's the matter?" "I want to admire the moon." Jin Wang got up and opened the window for Yeshu. The cold moonlight shone in. Yeshu said, admiring the moon indoor is not good. I want to walk around the imperial garden. Jinwan controlled his temper. It's already 9 o'clock. So what? Yeshu sat up. Admiring the moon is only at night. When else can it be? Jinwan did not answer. Yeshu stood up and walked over to Jinwan without putting on his shoes. He was still not used to having a chain around his leg and almost tripped when he reached the table. Jinwan hurriedly caught him. Jinwan was still in shock and said angrily, "Didn't I tell you to be more careful? What if you fall? Who told you to make me wear this? I'm not used to it." Yeshu paused and said unconcernedly, "Besides, even if I fall, then so be it. The floor of Yangzin Palace Hall is covered with carpets. Even if you throw a porcelain doll on it, it won't break. How can I break it?" Jinwan was so angry that he wanted to hit him. But he could not hit him. This person could not be touched or knocked out, but he did not know that. The amount of anger he felt doubled. Jinwan took a deep breath and smiled. "But I'm worried that you'll fall. In order to not make me worry, why don't we shorten the length of the chain and you can just stay in bed every day? What do you think?" Yeshu's expression froze and he shook his head repeatedly. "No, no, no." Jinwan's tone was very considerate. "Didn't you say that you're not used to wearing it? I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it very quickly." Yeshu said timidly. "There's no need to shorten it." Jinwan smiled with satisfaction and pulled Yeshu into his arms. They sat down at the table. "If you're not tired, then accompany me to look at the memorials." "No, I want to admire the moon." "Then go to sleep." "I'm not sleepy." Yeshu hooked his arm around Jinwan's neck and said gently, "I just want to go out for a walk." "Let me go, Wang Gurgur." Jinwan's hand that was holding the memorial trembled. Yeshu noticed his reaction and secretly laughed. His voice became even sweeter. "Wang Gurgur, is there really no way?" Jinwan's ears turned red and he said uneasily, Don't call me that." "Then what should I call you?" Yeshu leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Whatever you want to hear, I'll satisfy you." Jinwan's ears turned even redder. However, Yeshu refused to let him go. He called him Gurgur again and again, each call softer than the last. Jinwan couldn't bear it any longer. He threw Yeshu back onto the bed and kissed him fiercely. After a while, Jinwan let him go. Yeshu couldn't breathe properly and didn't dare to mess around anymore. Jinwan looked up at him with a hint of desire in his eyes. "Ashu, don't force me." Yeshu couldn't detect the scent of his pheromones but Jinwan could smell it. The fragrance of the plum blossoms never completely dissipated. It was constantly teasing him, making it difficult for him to calm down. If it weren't for the child in his stomach. Jinwan's eyes darkened and his chest felt stuffy. He straightened up and turned his head to avoid looking at Yeshu. "It's too late today. You should rest first. I'll take you to admire the moon early tomorrow." After he finished speaking, he walked out. Yeshu asked, "Where are you going?" "To take a bath." The next day was a break. After the two ate lunch, Jinwan summoned an imperial physician to examine Yeshu. Yeshu sat on the small bed and let the imperial physician take his pulse. After a while, imperial physician Feng said, "Young master's pulse is stable. His body is cough, in short, his body is healthy and unharmed. Your Majesty can rest assured." Yeshu. That pause in the middle was too suspicious. Imperial physician Feng asked again, "Has young master's body been feeling unwell recently?" Yeshu thought for a while and said, "Yes." He didn't know if it was because he had been eating too much recently, but Yeshu's stomach often felt bloated, as if something was hanging from it. Yeshu reported this to the imperial physician. The physician replied, "This is a normal phenomenon. I'll prescribe some medicine for young master." After taking it, it should be alleviated. Yeshu asked, is it related to my stomach problems? Imperial physician Feng said, yes. Why did he pause for so long? Yeshu looked at him suspiciously. Imperial physician Feng turned a blind eye to his gaze and said seriously, young master should not sit or lie down for too long. Walk slowly for at least 2 hours every day and bathe in the sun more. Jin Wang nodded, all right, I'll remember. The more Yeshu listened, the stranger he felt, I just feel bloated. What does it have to do with bathing in the sun? Jin Wang interrupted him, listen to the imperial physician. Yeshu. Humph. Imperial physician Feng looked at the golden chain tied to Yeshu's leg. He had an expression that said, this old man doesn't understand the interests of you young people. The golden chain extended from the head of the bed to the small couch outside. It couldn't be hidden, and Yeshu had no intention of hiding it. His leg that was tied to the golden chain dangled by the side of the couch, making the chain creak. Jin Wang still cared about his face. He turned his head uncomfortably, does the imperial physician have anything else to say? This. The news of Yeshu's escape had not spread, so imperial physician Feng naturally did not know about it. He only thought of it as the emperor's special interest. However, it was not appropriate to treat a pregnant husband like this. Imperial physician Feng deliberated over his words and tactfully said, young master's body is not suitable for sexual intercourse. Could your majesty exercise some restraint? Jin Wang almost choked on his tea. He tried to explain, this emperor actually. Imperial physician Feng looked into the hall with a strange gaze. The more he thought about it, the more he pitied Yeshu. He said in a low voice, if this official may be blunt but young master needs to maintain a peaceful and happy mood. I hope that your majesty can understand. This time, even Jin Wang did not understand, how can this emperor not understand? Imperial physician Feng said, this official heard that your majesty brought back the beauty that the Taikang minister presented to you yesterday in Yangzin Palace Hall. Your majesty enjoys the blessings of having 2 wives. This official does not dare to dissuade you, but your majesty should understand young master's feelings. At the very least. Imperial physician Feng's face turned red. He said in a low voice, at the very least, don't let 2 beauties serve you at the same time. This is not good. Cough, cough, cough. Yeshu was lying on the couch drinking water. When he heard this, he almost choked to death. 2 beauties serving him at the same time. Last night's matter had already spread to this extent. He looked at Jin Wang in shock. The latter's expression was also blank. This could not be blamed on imperial physician Feng. Yesterday, Jin Wang directly brought the beauty that were presented to him to Yangzin Palace Hall and did not send them out for an entire night. Anyone would have thought that the emperor had already taken care of the beauty. In addition, Jin Wang previously had the imperial consort living in Yangzin Palace Hall as well. Combining these 2 together, wouldn't that mean that he had taken care of 2 beauties in one night? After figuring out the ins and outs of this matter, Jin Wang was silent for a moment. Enjoying the blessings of having 2 wives? He clearly did not meet this criteria. Jin Wang had no way of explaining. He could only kindly agree and let someone send imperial physician Feng away. Yeshu finally could not hold it in anymore. He rolled around on the bed, laughing, your majesty is hugging 2 beauties in each arms. Enjoying the blessings of having 2 wives is really enviable. Ha ha ha. Yechianan. Jin Wang grabbed the golden chain on his leg and shook it threateningly. Yeshu quickly stopped laughing. Jin Wang asked, do you want to go to the imperial garden? Yeshu turned around and leaned on the other side of the bed. He turned his head and did not look at him, no. He did not allow him to go yesterday, so he really did not want to go today. Jin Wang's expression froze for a moment. He bent over and untied the golden chain on his leg. He asked patiently, then where do you want to go? This emperor will accompany you. Yeshu's eyes lit up, but he still did not turn his head. Anywhere is fine. Yes, anywhere is fine. Yeshu said, I want to leave the palace. Jin Wang fell silent. Yeshu looked at him for a moment, then looked away dejectedly. As expected, it won't work. Then forget it. I'm not going anywhere. You can continue to chain me up. He curled up his legs and curled up into a ball on the couch. He looked very aggrieved. However, Imperial Physician Feng had just said that he had to make him happy. Jin Wang sighed and compromised, fine, this emperor will accompany you out of the palace. Yeshu's expression changed in a second. He stood up from the bed and quickly walked into the inner room to change his clothes. He did not even bother to continue acting. Jin Wang felt very frustrated. He originally wanted to lock this person up in Yangzin Palace Hall and not let him go anywhere. He wanted to teach him a lesson. How could he be tricked by this person into wanting to take him out of the palace after just a few words? Jin Wang looked into the inner room, speechless. He reflected on when he had spoiled this person to the point that when he wanted a yard after giving him an inch. This won't do. If this continues, he will ride on this emperor's head. I shouldn't have agreed to let him out of the palace. This emperor is still angry with him. As Jin Wang thought this, he stood up and walked towards the inner room. He wanted to tell Yeshu that they were not going out of the palace. No matter how much he cried and begged, it would be useless. Before he could enter the inner room, he saw Yeshu striding out. The two of them almost bumped into each other. Jin Wang instinctively caught him and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Yeshu broke free from his arms and raised his hands with a smile. He held the human skin mask in his left hand and the white veil covering his face in his right hand. He looked up at Jin Wang and smiled, "Your Majesty is going out of the palace today. Do you want the imperial consort to accompany you or the new beauty?" Jin Wang was dazzled by his smile. He suddenly forgot what he wanted to say and said absent-mindedly, "Both. Both are good options." End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 23. The streets of Changan were bustling with people. Jin Wang ordered the carriage to stop in a secluded alley. Without bringing any attendants, he led Yeshu out of the carriage. In the end, Yeshu chose to disguise himself. The reason was that since His Majesty had taken in a beauty, he couldn't disappoint the officials and had to pamper him well. However, Jin Wang knew that he was purposely causing trouble. He couldn't wait for the outside world to think of him as a fickle person. His intentions were truly hateful, Jin Wang silently thought. "Shall we go over there and take a look?" Yeshu turned to look at him, his eyes bright and smiling. Yeshu's masked face was also very beautiful, but compared to his original appearance, his true features was much lighter and more delicate. Jin Wang was used to seeing beauties that could topple cities. This kind of appearance was simply not pleasing to his eyes. But now that he knew who this person was, even this face became pleasing to his eye. Jin Wang was momentarily dazed. Yeshu didn't wait for him to reply and directly pulled him into Changan Street. It was still daytime, so the streets weren't as lively as at night, but it wasn't bad either. Vendors hawked their wares on both sides of the street and pedestrians walked in groups of 3 or 5. It was a peaceful scene. As an emperor, he should be gratified to see such peace and prosperity under his rule. But with this ancestor beside him, Jin Wang wasn't in the mood to admire the scenery of the common people. Why was he running so fast? Didn't he know that he had to walk slowly because he was pregnant? And he was still trying to squeeze into crowded places. What if he bumped into something? Yeshu shook off his hand again. "Be careful or I won't let you go out next time." Jin Wang forcefully grabbed Yeshu's hand and said, "Hold on tight to me." Yeshu turned to look at him and happened to meet Jin Wang's gloomy expression. The two silently looked at each other for a moment. Yeshu smiled, "Come on and have fun. Why are you pulling a long face? Here, This is for you. He stuffed a stick of Tanghulu into Jin Wang's hands. Jin Wang was stunned for a moment, then absent-mindedly asked, You bought this for me? Yes. Yeshu also held a skewer in his hand. He stuck out the tip of his tongue and licked the sugar coating. Your Majesty probably doesn't have the chance to eat these in the past. Try it. It's very delicious. Jin Wang lowered his head and took a bite. It tasted sweet and sour, just like this person's pheromones. That's not right. Hawthorn is astringent. It's far worse than Xianxiang. Wait, Hawthorn. Not long ago, the imperial physician had instructed that omegas were not supposed to eat hawthorn during pregnancy. This person was courting death again. Yeshu was taking a bite of the Tanghulu when Jin Wang reached out at lightning speed and grabbed the stick out of his hand. Yeshu. Jin Wang said expressionlessly, Open your mouth. Yeshu opened his mouth obediently. Jin Wang pulled out the candied haws and said, I want this one. Yeshu. Yeshu asked, Don't you have one? Jin Wang became unreasonable, But I want to eat yours. Yeshu was silent for a moment, then stretched out his arms. Fine, I'll give it to you. Who asked you to be His Majesty? Perhaps he didn't mean anything by this, but Jin Wang suddenly remembered that during the most difficult days of their life, Yeshu had always given him the best of what he got. He always gave in to him and never fought with him. Jin Wang became lost in thought for a moment, but Yeshu's attention was quickly attracted by something new. He pulled Jin Wang and quickly walked forward. They soon arrived in front of a small building. There were 3 large words hanging above the building. Spring River Pavilion. This was the capital's #1 brothel. Ordinary brothels were deserted during the day and only bustled at night. However, this place was different. People came and went to the Spring River Pavilion. The upstairs was also different from ordinary brothels. There were men and women welcoming guests with charming smiles. There were only 2 servants standing in front of the door, welcoming guests and sending them off. They were refined and courteous, turning the brothel into a place of elegance. Yeshu couldn't help but take a few more glances. Jin Wang asked, Do you want to go? Yeshu hurriedly shook his head, I don't want to, I don't want to. If you want to go, just say it. This emperor can be persuaded to agree. No. Yeshu's eyes lit up, you can really. Jin Wang smiled and directly pulled him into the Spring River Pavilion. Soon, a servant came forward to welcome them. Jin Wang had someone lead them to a first-class private room. The room's windows were wide open, just enough to take in the entire Spring River Pavilion. The window faced a high platform in the main hall of the establishment. After the servant finished serving tea and left, Yeshu couldn't help but ask, Have you been here before? Not only had he been here before, but based on Jin Wang's familiarity with the place and his familiarity with the servant, it was clear that he was a regular customer. Yeshu's expression suddenly became very subdued. I didn't expect you to be this kind of dog emperor. Jin Wang coughed lightly and explained, the previous emperor indulged in pleasure and was very fond of these kinds of brothels. As a result, the capital was filled with brothels. Do you think that the imperial family didn't secretly add fuel to the fire? You mean? Jin Wang lightly said, at that time, most of the brothels in the capital were actually part of the imperial family's business. Yeshu understood, so this place is also. After this emperor succeeded the throne, Zhen closed down all the brothels, leaving only the Spring River Pavilion. Jin Wang paused and frowned. Don't look at me like that. This emperor is different from that incapable ruler. This emperor doesn't open brothels for Zhen's pleasure. Yeshu pretended not to hear Jin Wang call his father incapable ruler and asked, then why? Jin Wang was silent for a very long time. After a while, he leisurely said, this emperor's 300 spies are spread throughout the common people. They need a place to circulate information. Yeshu still remembered that the novel said that the 300 spies were usually hidden in the marketplace. They specifically chose inns, restaurants, and other places with a large flow of people to pass on information. The novel didn't specifically mention the Spring River Pavilion, but the Spring River Pavilion was indeed on the list. Yeshu took a sip of tea and felt that it was quite interesting. The country's largest brothel and the boss behind the scenes was actually the country's ruler. Who would dare to believe this? During the day, the Spring River Pavilion only offer entertainment with singing, dancing, poetry, and drinking tea while listening to music. At night, it's a place for romance. Jin Wang glanced at him and leisurely said, "We'll leave when the sun sets." Yeshu understood the meaning behind his words and gave a muffled "oh." Going to a brothel without asking for a beauty to accompany him. How boring. Song and dance performances began on the stage in the main hall. Jin Wang wasn't in the mood to watch this. He propped up his chin and looked at Yeshu. Strangely enough, Yeshu was also somewhat absent-minded. The room was silent for a moment. Yeshu finally couldn't help but ask, "Why do you keep looking at me?" Jin Wang smiled, "You already belong to this emperor. Can't this emperor look at you?" "Up to you." Yeshu placed his teacup on the table and said, "It's nothing interesting. Let's go somewhere else to play." Jin Wang didn't move. The two silently looked at each other for a long time. Jin Wang sighed, "Ashu, when will you learn to be more obedient?" Yeshu's expression was uneasy. What did I do?" Jin Wang said lightly, "From the moment you left until now, you've left 7 or 8 marks in the marketplace. Do you think this emperor can't tell?" Yeshu's fingers, which were hidden under the table, curled up. He had indeed left marks along the way. After he left the ancestral temple and fell into the hands of others, he hadn't met up with Chang Yuan. If Chang Yuan couldn't wait for him, he didn't know where Chang Yuan would go. He had coaxed Jin Wang to leave so that he could leave a mark in the marketplace to tell Chang Yuan about his whereabouts. Yeshu chuckled dryly, "Your Majesty, what mark are you talking about? This subject doesn't understand." Jin Wang only looked at him with a gentle expression. Yeshu lowered his eyes and said in a low voice, "Fine, I'll say it. I just want to find Chang Yuan." Hearing him mention this name, Jin Wang's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. Afraid that Jin Wang wouldn't believe him, Yeshu explained, "I really don't want to escape. It's just that Chang Yuan doesn't know where I am and will definitely be very anxious. I just want to let him know." Jin Wang stared at him intently. After a moment, he raised his hand and brushed the loose hair in front of Yeshu's forehead behind his ear. His voice was gentle. Actually, there was an easier way to do that. His tone was somewhat dangerous. Yeshu shrank back and asked, What? Jin Wang smiled, "Beg this emperor." Yeshu didn't answer. Although it was daytime, Spring River Pavilion was still a brothel. The interior was decorated ambiguously with sweet incense. The atmosphere around the two of them also became ambiguous. Yeshu swallowed, "Your Majesty." Yeshu's expression was somewhat nervous. His hands, which were hidden under the table, clenched tightly. He suddenly said, "There's no need." Jin Wang was slightly surprised. Yeshu quickly said, "If he can't find me, he will leave on his own. This is also good. There's no need to drag him into this." The room fell silent again. After a moment, Jin Wang smiled gently. The rigid aura around him faded away. "All right, Zhen will listen to you." Yeshu silently let out a sigh of relief. He had passed another hurdle. Chang Yuan had helped him escape. It would be strange if this dog emperor was willing to help him find him. If he really asked Jin Wang to help him find someone, it would be hard to say whether the person he asked for would be found alive or not. Poor Chang Yuan. He hoped that he would never be caught by this dog emperor. Yeshu silently thought to himself. The two of them sat for a while longer before getting up to leave the private room. Just as they reached the staircase, a figure suddenly rushed over and almost crashed into Yeshu. Jin Wang hurriedly protected Yeshu and retreated half a step. That person fell at their feet. Jin Wang frowned. A trace of ruthlessness flashed through his eyes. The youth who had fallen couldn't care less. He crawled forward and grabbed onto Yeshu's clothes. Save me. The fragrance of nectar filled the air. You. Yeshu was about to speak when he heard a sharp shout from behind him. Where are you running to? You dare to disturb the guests? Bring him back. A few manservants immediately went forward to grab the youth who had fallen down. The youth raised his head. He wasn't very old. He looked to be around 16 or 17 years old. His face was delicate and youthful, and there was a cinnabar mole between his eyebrows. His forehead had been knocked against the staircase and there was a small cut in it. However, the youth didn't seem to feel any pain. He struggled with all his might. Let go of me. I don't want to stay here. Yeshu said, wait. Everyone stopped what they were doing. The youth was only wearing a coarse cloth shirt. He seemed to be extremely afraid as his entire body trembled slightly. Yeshu immediately understood what was going on. He couldn't have encountered a scene of a poor youth being sold to a brothel, right? Sure enough, a woman dressed as a brothel keeper walked over. What are you waiting for? Catch him. I spent a lot of money to buy this Omega. If you let him escape, all of you can get lost. Sure enough, it was like that. The servants were about to make a move again. The youth scrambled to hide behind Yeshu. Young master, please save me, save me. Why are you still running away? Your father sold you. The brothel keeper walked closer as she spoke. When she saw Jin Wang's face, her voice stopped abruptly. You're. Jin Wang shook his head at her without a change in his expression. Spring River Pavilion was a gathering point for spies to pass on information. The brothel keeper here was naturally one of Jin Wang's spies. Yeshu didn't pay attention to this. He gently tugged at Jin Wang's clothes. Yun. Jin Wang looked back at him. This child. Yeshu hesitated for a moment, then said, didn't you say that you can return the family property to me? Can I take some of it first and save him? Jin Wang didn't hesitate and smiled. Of course you can. He turned back to look at the brothel keeper. You heard him. I heard. The brothel keeper's face was calm but her heart was in turmoil. His Majesty was actually speaking so gently to someone else? Could she have mistaken him for someone else? Jin Wang calmly said, name your price. Even if she had 10,000 times the courage, she still wouldn't dare to accept money from the emperor. She shook her head repeatedly. No. Jin Wang said, I'll let you name your price. 500 taels. The brothel keeper hurriedly explained, as if she was worried that the king would think that she was shouting out random prices. This child is an Omega. He presented earlier than normal. It's really rare. I had to compete with several other families to buy him. Your ma. Cough, if young master likes him, I can give you a discount. No need. Jin Wang said, I'll take him away. I'll send the money later. He turned to look at Yeshu. Are you satisfied now? Yeshu didn't answer. The brothel keeper's words confused him. What is an Omega? Presentation. What is that? End chapter, marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 24. The two quickly brought the youth out of Spring River Pavilion. Yeshu wanted to give him some money so he could live freely. How can I do that? The youth refused to accept it. Benefactor saved me, so I can't accept any more money from him. Yeshu asked, do you want to go home? I don't want to go home. The youth shook his head. I've lived with my father since I was young, but my father gambled heavily and sold me to a brothel. I won't go back. I want to find a place to stay in the capital and find a way to make a living. The youth's eyes were clear and bright. Benefactor, can you tell me your name? When I earn enough money in the future, I will definitely repay you. Whether it was Yeshu or Jin Wang, it was not convenient for them to reveal their names. Yeshu said, we also live in the capital. If you continue to live here, we will have a chance to meet again. Yeshu insisted on not telling him his name, so the youth did not ask any more questions. He could only nod. I look forward to our meeting again. I hope that by that time, I will have enough money to repay you. Yeshu smiled and nodded. The youth looked at Jin Wang, who was standing not too far away. The latter was dressed in black and stood under a tree. His figure was tall and slender, and his aura was extraordinary. The youth asked in a low voice, is that your husband? He's really good looking. Yeshu instinctively wanted to deny it, but the youth hurriedly said, don't misunderstand, I don't mean anything else. I just envy you. He must be very good to you. Yeshu paused, then said softly, he is indeed very good to me. To be honest, Jin Wang was indeed very good to him. The emperor seemed to be naturally sensitive and suspicious, not to mention all that Jin Wang had experienced when he was young. It was already not easy for him to treat him like this under all these circumstances. If that dog of an emperor stopped causing trouble, he would treat him better when he returned. The youth smiled. I wish you and your husband happiness forever. The two parted ways in front of Spring River Pavilion. Yeshu returned to Jin Wang's side. What took you so long? What did you talk about? Jin Wang asked. We're talking about you. Yeshu raised his head and smiled gently at him. He said that your majesty was so handsome. Your majesty had spent a lot of money to buy him back. Shouldn't you add him to your harem instead of letting him go just like that? Jin Wang reached out and pulled him into his arms. I already have 2 beauties in my harem, why would I need more? Furthermore, Jin Wang lowered his head and stared into his eyes. He said in a low voice, he's far inferior to you. I don't like him. I only have eyes for you. Yeshu's heart trembled slightly. Jin Wang rarely said such things to him. Or perhaps in the past, he had said it with a teasing tone, but Yeshu did not take it to heart. However, it was different this time. His eyes were sincere and passionate. He wasn't trying to coax him, nor was he trying to tease him. Yeshu suppressed the unfamiliar throbbing in his heart. He tilted his head and smiled. Your Majesty's sweet talk is truly becoming more and more powerful. Jin Wang's eyes were smiling. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Yeshu said faintly, it's just that the imperial consort is so pitiful. Not only can he not come out to play with your majesty, he doesn't even hear your sweet talks. Your majesty only has eyes for me, so where does your majesty place the imperial consort? It must be true that when you see the new person smile, how can you hear the old person cry? Jin Wang's expression froze on his face. Was this person addicted to playing harem fights with himself? Of course I also have eyes for the imperial consort. Don't Jin Wang instinctively tried to explain himself, but when he saw Yeshu's shoulders shaking from trying to hold back his laughter, he realized that he had fallen into a trap. Jin Wang gritted his teeth. Yeah. Qian. And. Ha ha ha, I was wrong, I was wrong. Your Majesty, please spare me. The sky gradually darkened. Yeshu and Jin Wang returned in a carriage. Yeshu remembered the question he had thought while at Spring River Pavilion. Omega. Jin Wang's eyes narrowed slightly as he frowned. You don't know what an omega is? Yeshu said uncertainly, should I know? Yeshu clearly remembered that there was no such setting in the novel. Moreover, from the original's remaining memories, there was no mention of this word. However, the plot of this world has already deviated much from the novel. If there was any new setting, Yeshu wouldn't find it strange. Jin Wang remained silent. He originally thought that Yeshu hadn't noticed his own presentation because he was muddle-headed and slow. But now, it seemed that he didn't even know anything about Alpha and Omega. The difference between Alpha and Omega was like the difference between men and women. Was there anyone in this world who truly didn't know this? Jin Wang's intuition told him that there was something strange about this, but he couldn't come to a conclusion. He was silent for a moment, then replied, "Omega is just a title that the brothel gave to the youth. The brothel has always had a distinction between Alpha and Omega. Alpha is good at his skills and sells his skills but not his body. Omega is beautiful and uses his looks to serve others." Jin Wang began to speak nonsense. "As for the presentation, you can just treat it as a distinction." Yeshu looked puzzled. "That's it?" Jin Wang said firmly, "That's it? All right." Yeshu didn't doubt him and said, "Let's continue discussing the topic from before. Has your Majesty decided on what position to give me?" Jin Wang. Yeshu had only said this to tease Jin Wang. Who would have thought that on the second day after they returned to the palace, Jin Wang would actually issue an edict. The beauty sent by the Taikang temple was conferred the title of imperial concubine and bin. His position was slightly lower than that of the imperial consort. Just like the imperial consort, the eunuchs had to address him as young master. As one of the few imperial concubines of the current emperor, one was given the Yongshao Palace and the other was given the Chengqian Palace. They were on the left and right sides of the Yangzin Palace Hall. It could be seen how much His Majesty favored these two imperial concubines. However, the wedding ceremony that had been put on hold was not mentioned again. At this point, no one in the imperial court objected to the matter of taking in an imperial concubine. As long as His Majesty took in an Omega, it was only a matter of time before they would have a prince. There was no need to be too anxious. As for Yeshu, he didn't go to the Yongshao Palace nor the Chengqian Palace. He returned to the Yangzin Palace Hall and was in the small, dark room. "I don't think this will work." Yeshu stood by the bed and said to Jin Wang in a serious tone, "You can't continue to lock me up." The personal servant was helping Jin Wang change his clothes. Jin Wang heard this and raised his head. "Why?" Yeshu said angrily, "I've put on weight these past few days." Yeshu's figure was petite, but when he changed his clothes today, he discovered that his waist and abdomen were rounder than before. No matter how he thought about it, it was all Jin Wang's fault. When Jin Wang heard this, his eyes lit up. "Come over here and let Zhen take a look." Yeshu walked over angrily and was hugged by Jin Wang to sit down. He gently placed his hand on Yeshu's abdomen. His flat abdomen had not yet become obvious, so it wasn't visible from the outside. However, when he touched it, he could clearly feel that it was rounder than before. It was soft to the touch. Jin Wang restrained the smile in his eyes and deliberately said, "How have you put on weight? There doesn't seem to be any difference." Yeshu said angrily, "In any case, you can't lock me up anymore. I want to go out." Jin Wang said, "No." Yeshu pouted. "Humph." Jin Wang knocked his forehead. "Who told you to be disobedient earlier? If I only let you out after locking you up for a few days, would I still have any dignity left? Bastard Jin Wang." Yeshu was so angry that he didn't want to bother with him. When it was time for the morning court session, Jin Wang left with his people, leaving Yeshu alone in his chambers. Yeshu was bored and began to fiddle with his disguise tools again. These days, Jin Wang would take Yeshu out for a walk after the morning court session. Yeshu was now addicted to playing the role of two imperial concubines. Every day, he would change into a different identity, saying that he wanted to let His Majesty have equal time with both. Not only that, he also tried to develop other people's disguises in an attempt to make Jin Wang bring them into the imperial harem. However, during his first attempt, Jin Wang discovered that there was an unfamiliar man on his dragon bed after the morning court session. He was so angry that he almost dragged the man out and beat him to death. It was an extremely tragic experience. Yeshu had just finished disguising himself when a servant came in to report, "Young master, Imperial Physician Feng is here for a routine examination. Have him wait outside." Yeshu responded and was about to remove the disguise on his face when he suddenly stopped. Imperial Physician Feng would come every few days to check Yeshu's pulse. However, every time, he would come to the conclusion that his body was in good health and that there were no abnormalities. However, he was often tired and sleepy, his stomach was bloated and he would occasionally vomit. All these symptoms had not completely disappeared. Could it be that the imperial physician was in cahoots with Jin Wang and was hiding something from him? Yeshu thought of this and put down his hand. He turned around and walked to the side of the bed. "Let him in." When Imperial Physician Feng came in, he didn't see Minister Ye but another young master. The young master was leaning against the side of the dragon bed with a tired expression. He looked at Imperial Physician Feng through the opened bed curtains and seemed to be feeling unwell. Imperial Physician Feng naturally recognized that this was Imperial Concubine and Bin. Imperial Physician Feng immediately bowed to him. "Greetings, young master." Yeshu softened his voice and gently said, "Imperial Physician, you don't need to be so courteous." Imperial Physician Feng stood up. "Young master, this official is here to check the Imperial Consort's pulse. This official wonder if the Imperial Consort is not here today. Imperial Physician Feng can come later." Yeshu lay down weakly and said in a gentle voice, "It just so happens that I am not feeling well today. Can the Imperial Physician also check on me?" A hand stretched out from the bed curtains. End chapter.